All right. Good morning, everyone. Let's try that one more time. Perhaps we can increase the energy level in this room just a notch. Good morning. Let me start this the correct way. I'm honored, of course, to greet the Minister of Youth Development and Sports, the Honorable Kenson Casimir. I caught that just before I came on stage. I'm also, of course, honored to greet the most times, Honorable Mr. Daniel Best, the Director of Special Projects at the Caribbean Development Bank and my good friend. Representatives of the Caribbean Development Bank, our development partners, youth leaders, the real MVPs of these proceedings, fellow development enthusiasts from across the region, those who are watching online. This is an exciting time for all of us. I must, of course, also greet Mrs. Williams, the head of the St. Lucia Youth Council. It was a pleasure hearing you earlier, ma'am. Courage. The strength and willingness to do that which causes us fear. The things which cause us anxiety and the things which trigger in us a feeling of apprehension. Courage is the thing that empowers us to lean into what appears difficult and outside our current realm of possibility and capacity. It is courage that motivates us to drive through our challenges, to keep moving forward despite what can seem like insurmountable obstacles. It is courage. Courage is the thing that triggers in our minds images of heroism. A policewoman marching into a dangerous situation to apprehend the perpetrator of a serious crime. A fireman charging into a building that is raging in inferno in order to rescue a family from potential loss of life. Courage. In a recent article in the Harvard Business Review, courage was described as a concrete determining factor of business and organizational success, and courageous leadership was identified as a unique, strategic, and competitive advantage. Courage makes a big difference. And it is the thing that we lean into when we estimate that our current circumstances exceed what we perceive to be our level of capacity and certainly our level of present comfort. Courage. In many ways, fear grips us to the point where we are immobile. We're paralyzed almost, unable to perform at our best, unable to give our best ideas, unable to contribute in the way that ultimately we would like to because of our reservations, because of our hesitations, because of our misconceptions. And the way that we tackle that is quite simply through courage. It takes courage for a company, a consumer electronics one, to make a decision to tell the world, your mobile phones no longer need headphone slots. Years later, some of us are looking back and wondering why phones even had headphone slots in the first place. But courage isn't something that's unfamiliar to us as a people. It took courage for our ancestors to brave the perils of the Middle Passage. Labor under the tyranny of the plantocracy, yet never allowing the whips that sought to break their backs to break their spirits. And so today, traces of their resilience continue in our food, in our language, in our dress, in our flair and style, even for some of us in the way we laugh and carry on. A symbol of our heritage. It took courage for Sir Errol Walton Barrow in Barbados to stand before the entire world and declare that we will be friends of all and satellites of none. A statement which confirmed his belief in our agency, but also a deep conviction that we as a Caribbean people have the intelligence and collective capacity to chart our own destiny. It took courage for Sir Alexander Bustamante in Jamaica in 1962. It took courage for Eric Gary in Grenada in 1974. It took courage for Milton Cato in St. Vincent in 1979. And it certainly took courage for for Sir John Compton in the Helen of the West Indies to lead this beautiful island to independence in 1979. So we stand, therefore, on a very rich and strong heritage of courage. And if ever we needed it, ladies and gentlemen, I submit to you that we need that courage today. We are facing challenges that our ancestors never even contemplated. On the heels of a global pandemic that threatened to destabilize everything we'd worked to build over the last 50 years, now we are faced with the ravages of a global climate crisis. A situation not of our making and to which we made no contribution, but of which we are the victims. And now will we have the courage to make the kinds of decisions that are required to improve our level of economic and physical resiliency, to ensure that regardless of what the climate crisis might bring to us, we face it with the requisite level of preparedness and intent. It will take courage. When our financial system harkens back to the Industrial Revolution and the days of factories, and now needs to be dragged kicking and screaming into the 21st century in a manner that aligns with the realities of our current small and medium enterprises, it is still too difficult for our upcoming businesses to access capital in a way that is affordable, that facilitates innovation and growth and scaling of our enterprises, that allows entrepreneurs to make the types of contributions that drive the development of our region forward. It will take courage. It takes courageous leadership on the part of our political forces, our policymakers, our regional development partners, to make decisions that drive our development forward, even where some of those decisions are met with political disfavor. It takes courage to potentially compromise political capital in the interest of regional development. It takes courage to create a legal and regulatory framework that makes sense of the world we currently live in and is an empowering and enabling environment rather than a disabling and invalidating one. It takes courage to make those kinds of policy decisions that are required to create the infrastructure our region needs to grow and develop. The Greeks had two very interesting ways of looking at time. One of them was a quantitative measure. The other one was qualitative. The quantitative measure of time, according to the Greeks, was the word chronos, from which we derive our English word, y'all sharp, chronology. Sequential passing of time, minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day, week by week. But the Greeks also recognized that beyond chronological time, sometimes there are opportune moments in time. For that, they use the word kairos. It is a word that finds its origin in the Greek practice of archery. Picture in your mind an archer drawing that bow back, waiting for the opportune time to release it in order that it hits its target. That kairos moment. A unique or opportune open window where the releasing of the arrow creates the greatest probability of success. Might I suggest to you, future leaders, that this is a kairos moment. As you gather together over these next few days with your colleagues from across the region, as you share your ideas courageously, as you plan and collaborate courageously, as you dream and imagine courageously, it is in so doing that you create the opportunity for that arrow to be released in a manner that catapults our region into the stratosphere, and it's possible if you're willing to be courageous. To believe in that thing that burns inside you, that fire. It is why Dr. Howard Thurman says, ask not what the world needs. Instead, ask what makes you come alive. Because what the world needs is more people who have come alive. So what sets you on fire? What ignites those passions deep in your heart that will push and drive you to do things that might seem to others as unreasonable, as unnecessary, but which you know are required in order to create the future for this region that we don't want, the future for this region that we absolutely need. And the power to do that, I want to respectfully submit, is in the hands of those of you in this room and those who are joining online across the region, those with a heart to see our future charting a course that realizes its full potential for all of us as Caribbean people and as Caribbean nations. We will not live our lives as victims. We will not find ourselves in 2030 and in 2040 and in 2050 making our cry only if we had done, only if we had decided, only if we had rallied the support of our troops across the region, only if we had been bold and courageous enough to do the thing that was in our heart to do. We'd have greater food and agricultural security. We'd have a better plan around our regional energy. We'd have ideas for innovation and creativity that are taking this region forward. And it requires your intelligence. It requires your innovation. It requires your creativity. But most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, it requires your courage. Your courage. Thank you so much, and I wish you a wonderful forum.